sports.
We are Blackboard. We are South.
It's a bounce-back Sunday. After losing for the first time since July 25th last night to the Marlins, the Braves look to start fresh anew on this Sunday matinee. The best team in baseball at home looks to take the series finale against the Miami Marlins here at Turner Field. Well, the sun did indeed arise in the east as the Atlanta Braves are back in action here at Turner Field in Atlanta. Yes, the long 14-game win streak is in the books. Today it's time to start another one as the Braves and Marlins meet in the third, final, and rubber game of our series before a big crowd here in downtown Atlanta. And hi again, friends. Chip and Joe back with you. An excellent ball game in every respect, Joe, but the final result, 1-0 last night. Miami snapped the Braves' long winning streak. But the pitching's been outstanding, and Mike Minor will try to continue that streak for Atlanta today.
Well, if you need a little motivation after losing last night and you got your dauber down, well, Freddie Gonzalez is always saying, hey, win series, things will take care of themselves. Mike Minor's got a chance to do that this afternoon if he can lead the Braves to a victory. And he's been pitching great baseball. Mike's numbers have been outstanding all year long. He's got 11 wins on the year. You're going to see some action here from his last couple of starts. And, you know, after the last start against Washington, he didn't have good stuff. He gave up 8 hits, 3 walks, in about 6 innings. And he said, you know what, I didn't pitch very well. Well, I think he learned a lot, that he doesn't have to have his best stuff to win. Took a big step there for him, and I'm looking for big things for Mike today. You saw those numbers in recent starts. He's been good at home, too.
Seems like only yesterday Mike Minor was joining the Braves as a young major league player. Well, he's making his 11th career start today against the Marlins. That's hard to believe. Let's hope he has good luck against Henderson Alvarez, the man pitching for Miami in the third and final game of the series. Time to start another streak. Let's see if the Braves can win the series. We'll get things started from Atlanta right after this. Braves and Marlins wrap up the series today. Atlanta starts play 14.5 games in front of Washington. A special day before the game. The Braves' annual Family Day took place on the field. First Family Day for Braves pitcher Chris Medlin.
That's always a thrill. This time next year, that young man will be hanging out line drives off his dad's kneecap.
We saw a lot of line drives from the kids today, didn't we?
Especially Tyson Johnson, Reed's son.
And it's a great day to hit. Let's see if the Braves can do that today. 85 degrees, a little humid. There is a breeze. And Atlanta last night, just 3 hits off of Eovaldi, Qualls, Dunn, and Steve Cishek. Miami also had 3 hits, but they scored the game's only run. And Mike Rebman's lineup shapes up with Yelich and Echeverria first and second. Giancarlo Stanton's back in there in right field. He's battling a bad slump. Polanco's the cleanup man. Ed Lucas has been a jack of all trades. He's at first base today. Donovan Solano's at second. Jake Marisnick's their center fielder. Koyi Hill the catcher. And Henderson Alvarez, a ground ball machine, pitches and bats ninth.
For Mike Minor, any young pitcher is going to struggle a little at the beginning of his career, but even then he was 10-9, had a high ERA, but a winning record. His last 43 starts, though, outstanding. 20-11, a 2.75 ERA, and check out that average against it, just 2.16. For Mike, 11-5 on the year, a 2.76 ERA. That's pretty impressive. His 4 keys to pitching success today. Big step. Well, I just talked about in our opening comments. He took a big step getting a win his last time out. The team got a win. He got a no decision, but keeping his team in the ball game despite having not his best stuff. In fact, he said it would have been an F if he were grading it had the Braves not gone ahead to win the ball game. And don't underestimate this Marlins team. I know it's easy to because they're not scoring any runs. They've only scored 1 in this series, but it was enough to win a ball game last night. Going to be delayed here is Chris Johnson. No, he wasn't thrown out of the game. He was just coming back to the dugout to get his sunglasses. And I watched as he was going out to third base. He walked out and tipped his cap. Oh, very nice. He also walked out and tipped his cap to Jim Joyce, who saluted him in return.
It's almost forgotten from yesterday's first inning.
Let's hope so.
Christian Yelich leads off for Miami. A 10-game hitting streak for the Miami rookie outfielder. Minor's first pitch of the day is upstairs. 1 ball, no strikes. And back to the screen foul. It's an even count. Very interesting you said about Mike not having good stuff in his last start against Washington. I asked him about it up in Nationals Park. I said, give yourself a grade as far as stuff's concerned. He said, D-. And I raised my eyebrow and said, why a D-? He said, well, I would have given myself an F, but we won the game. And the big difference for him, Joe, was early in his career, he might have folded. He might have thrown in the towel.
Yeah, he's really grown up a lot, Chip. He's matured. Doesn't let home runs bother him like they used to. Continues to stay on the attack, and he's a guy who gets a lot of run support, so that helps too. I like this guy Yelich. I like his approach at the plate. Don't know how good an outfielder he is yet. Haven't seen him play enough, but he's got a nice swing.
Anything specifically that jumps out?
Just good use of his hands. Kind of a tall, lanky guy who runs pretty well, but he seems to make good contact.
And he'll take a seat.
If I'd known that worked, I'd have said something earlier in the series.
Minor strikes out the first man he sees today. Yelich has been there on his hitter. Here's a look at the Atlanta defense. Notable change in center field. Jordan Schaefer is in there. B.J. Upton is not. Brian McCann not catching again. Brian's knees bothering him just a bit. Everybody else in their normal spot. Echeverria villain last night. A triple in the 9th inning led to the game's only run. And that triple for Echeverria gave him 6. That's tops for all National League rookies in that department. Gaddis gets out of the way of the umpire, or vice versa, and Freeman with a big stretch makes the play. Jeff Nelson couldn't get out of the way of the baseball or Gaddis. Unfortunately, no harm done.
Yeah, he didn't know which way to go. He didn't know whether to jump, hop, or wind his watch, and I don't know where it is. And Freddie had to help out with a good stretch there. Good start for Minor.
Giancarlo Stanton's the hitter. Braves have not given this guy much to hit, with good reason. He's their real big power threat on the ball club. And he jumps on a 1-0 pitch and skies it towards Schaefer in center, and Minor has a very easy top of the first inning. A couple of strikeouts and just 11 pitches were underway in Atlanta. Braves up for their half of the first inning.
Send him to the back of the chop house or something.
Well, the Braves are trying to turn their luck around and start a win streak today. The Toyota starting 9 has Hayward, Upton, Freeman first, second, and third. Gaddis back in there at the cleanup spot. Chris Johnson's at third base. Ugla at second. Simmons at short. Jordan Schaefer in center field bats 8th. And Mike Minor, of course, hits 9th.
Henderson Alvarez is on the mound. He's 23 years old, 6 feet 210 out of Venezuela. He's making his 8th start of the year. Like Evaldi, he started the year on the disabled list with a tender shoulder. But his last 5 starts, boy, they've been really good. Undefeated with a 1.85 ERA, 6 walks to 16 strikeouts. That covers a 34-inning stretch. His one loss came to Atlanta. He's made 2 starts against the Braves. 11 innings, 13 hits, 8 runs allowed. Walked 4, struck out 7. His 4 keys to success today: he's a ground ball machine. He's got to have the ball down. He's got to have good sinking action. And no touch 'em all as far as he's concerned. He has not given up a home run in his first 45 innings of work so far this year.
And he misses high to Jason Hayward. And for a guy that gets a lot of ground balls, you hope he does elevate the baseball today. Didn't. Hayward beats it into the turf.
You always do that first
From second to first in time to retire Jason. 1 out. That's Donovan Solano manning second for Miami today. 1 up, 1 down.
For Henderson Alvarez, that ground ball stat includes double plays. His career ground ball fly ball ratio 2.3 to 1. And over the last 2 years, he's 12th in the major leagues in double plays.
Justin Upton is the Braves batter. Justin's long 13-game hit streak came to a close last night. He was 0 for 4. A lot of his good work has come, Joe, during this stretch where he's batted second. That's our Ram truck power stat.
15 games in this spot in the order. 6 homers, 14 RBIs. Great numbers against the Fish. And number 1 in the National League in August. Homers and RBIs and hits. But tonight, or this afternoon, is a continuation of what we talked about at the beginning of this series, and that is that the Marlins came in 29 and 29 in recent games due largely to their pitching. They've got some quality arms in the rotation. We saw Eovaldi last night, who was dynamite. This guy throws 94 to 96. And Sherwin-Williams painting the corners. He does just that right here on our Fox tracks to get the strikeout. For a sinker ball guy who gets a lot of ground ball outs, he throws hard. He's also got a slider, curve, and changeup, but it's that hard sinker that's his bread and butter.
But it's tough to win if your offense doesn't score, and that's been the real problem for Miami all year. Think about Nate Eovaldi last night. 7 more innings of scoreless baseball, but 7 more innings where his offense haven't given him a run. 34 straight innings for Eovaldi without a single run of support. And Miami this year has had 57 games, Joe, where they've scored 2 runs or less. That's more than 1/3 of a 162 game schedule.
He just fired a 61-mile-an-hour curveball. A little bit of a Livan Hernandez lollipop curve. So from 96 to 61.
Fly ball foul by Freeman. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I know last night there were probably some hard hit balls. I just don't remember them, except for Freddie's line drive base hit in the first inning. That was about the hardest hit ball for Atlanta all night.
We've seen some well-pitched games against the Atlanta offense this year. I can't think of one that was better than Eovaldi's 7 innings.
Jeff Samardzija pitched a good game
Yep.
real early in the year, the first homestand of the year. There have been some others I know we could recollect, but in recent days, that's the best. Eovaldi's.
To short, Echeverria. Ball stayed down, and he stayed with it. And Alvarez does what he does best. He gets a couple of ground balls and a strikeout in his scoreless first inning at Turner Field today.
Despite the 14-game win streak coming to an end last night, the Braves are still in great position for the postseason, of course, within the division. Our friends at Baseball Prospectus run simulations nonstop to tell us who they think will be in the postseason, and the Braves, as of the last few days, remain at a 100% chance in all the simulations that they run in making it to the postseason, and the best World Series winning percentage of the National League at 12.7%. They also have their win total at more than 97 victories over the course of the season. The Tigers are pulling in the big numbers on the American League side.
And they and the Braves, Tom, had double-digit win streaks snapped this week.
Braves with only 2 teams left on their schedule that have winning records.
Nice play at short by Andrelton to get Placido Polanco.
Well, we're seeing a clinic with shortstop play in this series.
Yep.
Soft hands from both Simmons and Echeverria, and then very accurate throws, not just routine throws, but from awkward positions too. That was a hot shot right there and handled nicely.
So had Lucas, the latest tangerine-clad Marlin, to face Mike Minor.
Does that go with Gray?
I don't think it does, but my opinion doesn't count.
Allie? No?
Hey, but you're asking
Allie's our color coordinator today. And
you're asking a South Carolina girl about the color orange. It's not going to match anything.
Good point.
Lucas hits one down the right field line. And Hayward will track it down in the corner. Lucas is going to try. Jason loads up. His throw to second on target, but late. And Lucas has his first hit of the series. A sliding double with 1 out.
Really a tough play for Jason to make in that corner and be able to get anything on the throw. But tell you what he did. He hustled his tail off getting over there to make sure that he cut this off, to make sure it didn't get into the corner for a potential triple. He made sure it was only going to be a double.
And it was, and Donovan Solano, who's been the big RBI man for the Fish, has a chance to put him up. Solano has 18 runs batted in this season, but 12 of them, Joe, have come in the last 15 games he's played.
Sometimes it's just about opportunity. You know, you get to go through a stretch where it seems like there's guys in scoring position for you a lot. And perhaps that's the case for Donovan. He's just 4 for 24 against Atlanta pitching.
Swing and a miss. That tied him up. Gaddis lifts the runner back to second and throws out Solano for the second out. And Minor's third strikeout in the game.
Another good stop by Evan Gaddis, too, on a ball down and in the right-handed batter's box. Covered it, kept it close to him.
Mentioned Brian McCann, sore knee. Is that cause for concern for the Braves?
No. No, just he even said it. Some of it had to do with the ground in Washington. That it's so hard that your spikes don't even dig into it.
This is Jake Marisnick, and he rips one into left field for a base hit. And Lucas around third is going to score. Miami strikes first. A 2-out hit from Marisnick for his 4th big league RBI, and it's 1-0 Marlins in the second inning.
Like he got something upstairs. Well, not really. A little above the knee and inside. Shows you right here. He can turn on the ball. And again, don't underestimate these guys, despite the fact that they have such lowly numbers in the National League.
This is Coy Hill. You see what he did at AAA New Orleans. He looks up and away at ball 1. Rob Brantley was one of the Miami catchers for most of the year. Didn't hit much and was sent back to the minor leagues to make room for Hill at the start of the series. Tom Hart had an amazing story on Hill in the series opener. In his younger days was working on a table saw, had an accident with the saw, severed some fingers, went to the hospital. The doctor who was attending him happened to be a baseball player and a fan. Hill told him what his profession was. The doctor had a baseball in his car, got the baseball out to see how Hill held and gripped the ball, and went about his business of putting his hand back together based on that grip. Remarkable that he's been able to get back to the big leagues after suffering such a traumatic injury.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen or heard more about that. Quite a recovery. Doctor actually had him put the ball in his left hand so he could see how he held it in his left hand so he could repair his right.
That's popped up, shallow right. Ugla goes out. Hayward comes in, and nobody catches the baseball. And Hayward's throw will come to the plate, and all hands are safe. That's going to drop as a hit. Hayward and Ugla couldn't come up with a pop-up. And Alvarez will get a chance to add to his 1-0 lead here in the second inning.
That was one of those trouble from the get-go. No man's land, and when I saw Jason looking at Dan to see how close he was to it, I figured Jason lost it or couldn't see it in the sun. Fortunately, no run scores and a chance to get through the inning with only 1 run across, pitchers up.
But he's a good hitting pitcher. Limited duty at the plate, but Alvarez 4 for 12 this year, and he's knocked in a run. So 3 hits in the frame for the Fish. Lined hard to left. And that's over Upton's head. Marisnick scores. Hill around third. He's getting the green light. Simmons' relay throw is up the line and not in time. And all the way around to third goes Alvarez. And the Marlins, with 3 straight hits, have taken a 3-0 lead.
That hurts. Fastball, boy, jumped on the first pitch, and you were right, Chip. Good swing, and this ball jumped off his bat, carried over the head of Justin Upton, who took a rather sharp angle across to go get this, but it carried over his head. They had a shot at the plate, and you usually are used to seeing Andrelton Simmons just throw strikes to home plate, but his relay was up the line.
So the Marlins have scored 3 runs in the second inning. And Yelich is the batter. He took a 3rd strike. And is behind here, 0-2. 3 runs on 4 hits, 2 of them doubles. The second double by the Marlins pitcher.
And all the RBIs coming with 2 out.
The sun ball sure hurt too.
Yeah.
Catch that, the inning's over. Mike threw 11 pitches in the first inning. He's fired 18 here in the second. Yelich, 21 years old, out of Thousand Oaks, California. 23rd pick in the 2010 draft in the first round. And he's caught looking for a second time today. An excruciating second for Mike Minor. 3 runs on 4 hits, including a double to his pitching opponent. 3-0 Miami after an inning and a half.
Top of the second inning, one of the key plays in the game was that pop-up that was tough to find in the sun. Mike Minor came right in behind the batter runner there. Might have had him picked off, but Jason Hayward is coming to the plate because he knows there's another runner on base, and he might have thought that Joe Espada, the third base coach, was that runner. That's why he cut it loose to the plate. He did the right thing to try and prevent a run from scoring. They might have also had a pick off at first. Didn't really matter, though, because then the pitcher hit a double.
And the Marlins score 3 times in the second inning. So Alvarez late getting back to the mound after his double and his stint on the base paths. He'll loosen up, go after Gaddis, Chris Johnson, and Dan Uggla. The Braves have been a terrific comeback team all year. 37 comeback wins. Let's hope today's number 38. Gaddis kept the game alive in the 9th inning with a 2-out single off Steve Cishek. He's 1 for 3 last evening. There's that big lollipop curveball that missed. 1 ball, no strikes.
59 miles an hour.
After Chris Johnson got thrown out of the ball game, the Braves found themselves awfully short-handed. Gaddis started because McCann's knee was bothering him. Bryan came on as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning. That meant Gaddis was the lone remaining catcher. And so when Evans singled in the 9th, you couldn't pinch run for him. So if you tie the game, then you really had to scramble. That's not the case today because Gerald Laird is back and was activated. Todd Cunningham was sent back to AAA. Fly ball down the right field line. If that stays fair, that's going to be trouble. It does, and it'll bounce over the boards for a ground rule double for Gaddis.
Thing of beauty. You're around the cage and Evan Gaddis is taking batting practice. Typically his first round or 2 of BP, he's trying to go the other way. Phantom cam shows you how he's staying inside the baseball there. Strong grip on the bat. Even though he really just popped that ball up, he still hit it 300 feet. So a good start to the inning.
And Chris Johnson bats. Chris is still atop the leaderboard for the batting chase in the National League. A .337 mark, 7 points ahead of Yadier Molina of the Cardinals, and 9 points ahead of Michael Kadire of Colorado. That's into the seats. Everybody's all right. It was hard hit foul, strike one.
Well, last night when he got thrown out of the game, I think it showed you how the team chemistry can change on one play, whether it's injury or him being a player being thrown out. And in that case, in a spot that the Braves are very vulnerable.
To right field, Stanton drifts back. He'll make the catch. A productive out as Evan tags and moves to third with one out.
And with that in mind, you got to stay. You got to keep your head. You got to stay in the ball game. You got to be aware of those things. I would go as far as to say that Chris Johnson has the worst temper of any guy on the team. That he gets mad at himself more than anybody else, but he can really blow up. And when he does that, and if it gets thrown out of another game, the Braves are shorthanded. They need him in the lineup, and some of his reactions, again, quite honestly, border on juvenile. And he's got to get that under control, stay in the ball game, keep his head going. He's leading the league in hitting. Braves need him in there.
Don't know how the game might have turned out differently had he been in there and taking nothing away from Paul Janisch. But let's be honest, who do you want up there with the game on the line in that spot? The leading hitter in the league or somebody else? That's the way it worked out. Runner at third, one out for Dan Uggla. And Dan drives one into right center field. Marisnick drifts to his left. He makes the catch. Gaddis tags. He's coming home, and the throw is too late. Dan Uggla knocks in his 53rd run, and the Braves are on the board. They answer the 3 spot in the top of the second with a sacrifice fly.
That's good. An immediate reply. Get one of them back. And with Dan struggling like he has been, to get that RBI will make him feel a little better about things and maybe get him going.
How about Alvarez? 3 straight hitters have gotten the ball in the air against this guy. That might be a good sign. And that's up and in. 1 ball, no strikes. Another fly ball. Marisnick stumbled a bit, but makes the play without incident, and that retires the side. The Braves turn a leadoff double by Evan Gaddis into their first run. We head to the third. It's now 3-1 Miami. part by AT Uverse, by Delta Airlines, and by Ford. It's 3-1 now as we head to the third inning. A few puffy clouds overhead. Warm day in Atlanta. Between 85 and 90 degrees. As we greet you for game 3 of the series, Echeverria bats for the second time. He struck out his first look at Minor. And he pops up to the center of the diamond. Who wants this? It's Johnson. Flipped the glasses down very late and made the play for out number 1.
Tough play again for everybody, looking straight up into the sun. You look at their shadows, and their shadows are almost right below each of the guys. This tells you it's right overhead.
Here's Giancarlo Stanton. He fly to center. Looked it up today and wondered how many times Stanton had walked this year. The Fish. Granted, he hasn't played a ton of games because he's been hurt an awful lot. Today's only his 73rd game of the year. 45 walks for Giancarlo. Only 1 intentional walk this year.
That's shocking. Given that he's had nobody really to hit behind him and protect him, you'd think he'd have a ton of intentional passes.
Braves have pitched him tough when they've pitched to him. He's walked a lot against Atlanta for the exact reason you mentioned. And after his flyout today, he's 4 for 32 against the Braves. One ball, 2 strikes. And that just missed. Stanton has 13 of the Marlins' 64 home runs this year. And he's down on strikes. Minor's got a good strikeout pitch working today. That's number 5 already.
Good breaking ball there.
So the bases are empty and 2 are out. Fox Sports 1 is coming. It's America's new 24-hour sports network. It'll be your home for great live sports, all the news and highlights, and shows and specials that only Fox can bring you. America's new sports network is Fox Sports 1, and it's coming in 6 days.
Do they have your set built yet?
If they do, it's going to be a big surprise.
They only need 3 things for your set.
Okay.
They need a kitchen.
Yeah.
A counter.
Yeah. A wide chair.
Show the preparation. They need a music room with a, soundboard, and acoustics.
Okay.
And a garage.
Like the way you think.
Yeah. That's it.
Well, Ron Gromnick is here from Fox Sports in Los Angeles this weekend. He's had numerous opportunities to talk about the show idea. He's refused to do so.
And he is an amazing. He might be one of your first guests just to talk about tools. He has a tool chest with every tool known to mechanics.
Really?
Yes.
So he was like the original craftsman.
Yes. Well, yes.
Okay.
So he could be a guest talking about the uses, the versatility of some of the new modern auto mechanic tools, ratchets, you name it.
I need help understanding the Allen wrench. That's a problematic one for me at my house. As a line drive to third is handled by
I can help you with that one.
Chris Johnson. I need all the help I can get. Maybe we both will as we head to break. 3-1 is our score.
Sable list yesterday since he went on July 4th. This was June 26th in Kansas City when he fouled a ball off of his foot. It was originally a contusion. Then after a couple of pinch hit appearances, they got an MRI later, discovered that it was indeed a stress fracture for Schaefer. He has worked really hard, guys, to come back. For a long time, he couldn't even put weight on that foot. And after an appearance in Gwinnett, he's back and ready to go. Now, he didn't have great numbers, but he said, you know what, I had a lot of atom balls. I must have lined out to the center fielder 9 times down there, so he has a lot of confidence in his at-bats, even if the numbers don't show it.
That's good to know.
Bouncy ball to second. Solano with backhand stab makes the play, and Schaefer's retired. And after the second, where Alvarez got the ball in the air to 4 hitters, he gets a ground ball here in the Atlanta third.
Yeah, Jordan's been such a valuable part of this ball club. He was sorely missed for the virtual 6 weeks he was gone, and Tom's right. They took it real slow in terms of his running, cutting, and ability to get back on track. But they missed him while he was gone.
Mike Minor bats and looks low. 1 ball, no strikes. Mike at 136. He's homered. He's knocked in 6. And an even count. 2 games underway in the National League today. Everything else is a little later. Cincinnati is home and losing to San Diego 2-0. The Cubs and Cardinals are scoreless and getting started in St. Louis. We'll keep an eye on the Pirates and the Rockies. That's an important game from the Braves' perspective. The Braves and Pirates neck and neck for the top record in the National League. Minor is down on strikes, and that's out number 2. Have a big and rich time on Sunday, September 1st. The Braves Summer Concert Series presented by Coca-Cola and Delta. See country duo Big and Rich with special guest Cowboy Troy. That's free with your Braves game ticket. And fans, you can purchase field passes for just $25. Visit Braves.com/concerts today. And September 1st, the Marlins will be here again.
I like Big and Rich.
You play those songs on your ukulele?
No, it's too hard. Way too hard. They get after it.
You have a favorite song from Big and Rich?
Something, I forget what the title was. Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
Ground ball by Hayward. And with 2 outs, he's aboard for the Braves. Again, Atlanta's hitting the top half of the baseball. That one found a hole, though, for the second hit of the day. Here's Upton. Justin struck out in his first look at Alvarez today. 3-1 Marlins. All their runs came in the second inning. The big blow, the Alvarez 2-run scoring double after Hill reached on a pop-up that couldn't be caught. He went around, didn't like the call. Strike 1.
I didn't think so. From this vantage point, didn't look like his bat got out there that far. But it did.
To second. And Upton carried the bat halfway down the first base line and was slamming it into the turf. Looked like a lacrosse player, frustrated after Alvarez got him out. And the Braves as well in the inning. No runs, a hit, a man left. We go to the 4th. It's 3-1 Marlins. Marlins with a big second. The Braves answered with a sacrifice fly. All season long, Braves baseball on Fox Sports South is being presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. And Lucas doubled and scored the first Marlins run.
Marlins go to Kansas City after this ball game and start a series there tomorrow night. Don't know where Ed Lucas will be playing. He's moved all around the diamond in this series. Third to second, first today.
That will not be an easy series for the Marlins either. Kansas City Royals are playing real good ball. They've won 7 of their last 10. And all of a sudden, Joe, they're 4.5 games out in the wild card in the American League.
Wouldn't that be something?
Off the heel of Johnson's glove, Simmons recovered but can't make a play. And Lucas is aboard again. That is an infield hit.
Chris really protecting the line, expecting him to pull the ball. But made a nice stop here to knock this down. He just couldn't keep it in his glove. It bounces a little closer to Andrelton. He might have had a play.
5 hits for the Marlins. And a strike to Donovan Solano. Yeah, the Royals have won 15 of their last 18 games. They've got big game James Shields pitching for them today. But Shields hasn't won at home since April 30th.
Is that right?
That's hard to believe, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And he's losing 1-0 in the first inning to the Boston Red Sox. Game break for you in a moment after Solano's at bat is resolved. He struck out his first time up. And this one popped into no man's land again. This time, though, Jason's able to make the play. And a runner aboard with 1 out. Time to head to L.A. Molly's got a Fox Sports 1 game update for us. Thank you, Molly. Well, the Yankees not dead yet. There's 7 back in the wild card as well. But, Joe, a lot of teams to pass.
Yeah, it's not so much the games as how many teams are in front of you. Baltimore and Cleveland, you would think would have the best opportunity. Oakland is leading the American League West, so that's why they're included there. They're tied. No, they're 1 back. I beg your pardon, 1 back of Texas. But Cleveland has a winning record. They just can't seem to gain any ground. They're kind of like Kansas City. They can't gain any ground on Detroit. Braves will see Cleveland later this month, right here.
Atlanta has 7 games left against teams with winning records. That's it. Cleveland's one of them, though. That's a 3-game series here. The other 4 against the Cardinals on the road. That's on our next road trip after this homestand. Two balls and a strike for Marisnick. Has an RBI hit. Back to the Yankees. Forgetting about the circus that's going around that ball club right now. I think Joe Girardi deserves an awful lot of consideration for Manager of the Year, considering who he has been without. To have the Yankees above 500, I think, is remarkable. Anderson's been hurt. Teixeira's been hurt. Jeter's been hurt. Pretty remarkable work by Joe Girardi, and awfully difficult environment with the expectations that go along with being a Yankee. Fly ball softly hit to right, and Hayward's going to catch that easily. 2 outs.
Time for Georgia Power Energy tip number 12. Eddie Perez, or today's honorary captain that walked out with Carlos Tosca to hand out the lineups today. That would have been Sid Bream, who was here in town today. With Georgia Power's Home Energy Improvement Program, customers can get up to a $400 rebate when they have their home professionally sealed by a program participating contractor. To learn more, visit georgiapower.com/home improvements.
Home Sunday's always a treat for the fans with the Braves alumni at the ballpark. We've mentioned that before with the alumni game a couple of weeks ago. What a great job Greg McMichael has done with the alumni program for the Braves. It's great to see the guys at the ballpark his home weekends. Boy, Hill pops one up. Gaddis is right there behind the plate. And Minor, after the infield hit, gets the Marlins very easily. We head to the bottom of the inning. Freddie Freeman leads it off, down 2.
Braves celebrated Family Day at the ballpark before the game today, and I had the honor of catching up with Freddie Freeman's grandfather, Fred, who was just bursting with pride after a game of catch with his grandson.
I almost have no words to describe it. It's almost surreal. And follow them all through from T-ball to here. It's just indescribable. It's such a wonderful feeling. Since I was a little kid, all I wanted to be is a baseball player. And now my grandson is a baseball player. And that's almost more gratifying than if I'd ever made it myself.
Now, Mr. Freeman did have a chance. He had a tryout with the Philadelphia A's back in the day. He didn't have an opportunity, really didn't make the team, but he did say, at least his wife Flo said something positive came out of that. I'll tell you after this pitch.
Which is hammered to deep left. Yelich going back at the track and high off the fence. Freeman doubles and continues his torrid work. Batting third for the Braves.
Guys, during that tryout with the Philadelphia A's, Grandpa Fred overheard a scout talking about a player that would never make it because he had fat ankles. Well, at the time, Grandpa Fred said, I was a little concerned about my skinny ankles, so that at least made me feel a little bit better.
Name me a Hall of Fame player with cankles, Joe.
Yeah, I can't think of one. Maybe Hack Wilson. I don't know, but he only had like size 4 feet, so it all blended together.
How about Freeman on the first pitch? Is he something? Throwing the strike at your own peril, and he very nearly hit it out the other way with a stiff breeze blowing across from left to right.
Well, try to do the same thing the Braves did in the second inning. Lead off double, got him over, got him in. Same thing applies here.
The ball was outside. You could hear Jeff Nelson bark. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's what's on Evans' mind. With that near swing there, that check swing, it looked like trying to think about inside outing, kind of be late, hit the ball to the right side.
Rifled down the left field line.
That one not so much. Pulls those hands in. Those are some Popeye arms to be sure. Seen some swings where the ball makes contact with the bat and the bat really does waffle. Not when he's swinging it.
Ground ball right side. Nice pick by Lucas. Race to the bag, and Gaddis won it.
Great job by Evan with 2 strikes on him to go the other way, and Ed Lucas almost called in a spectacular play for a guy that's not really a first baseman. Ranged wide to his right, gave the ball to Alvarez in plenty of time, but Evan hot-footed it down there to beat him.
Another example of trying to do the right thing in a game situation, and it turns into something good for Evan.
Yeah. Heads up. That's just having your head in the game and doing the right thing. At least attempting to do the right thing.
First and third for Chris Johnson, who flied out to right.
Braves, we showed that graphic earlier, Chip, about how this team's fortunes, not so much their lead, they already had a bit of a lead, but their win-loss record really improved when they started doing little things right. Cut down on their strikeouts. Went from second most strikeouts in the National League, might have been baseball, I've corrected on that, to the 11th most. And the record reflects that improvement.
1 ball, 1 strike.
And those numbers were in the major leagues, not just the National League.
The graphic we showed you in the pregame show, 79 games, the first 79 games, the Braves struck out 35 times, 10 or more times in a game. In their last 38 games, they've done that just 6 times. So you're right, Joe, a dramatic improvement in contact at the plate. That buzzed the tower. Chris Johnson now a 2-2 count.
That's a little too far inside. I mean, that's farther than Alvarez wanted that, but they know the scouting report on Chris and how he likes to go the other way, so they were going to try to make it real hard for him to do that. Almost cost him a wild pitch.
Freeman at third, Gaddis at first. 3-1 Miami. We're in the Braves' fourth. Nobody out. If you're going to lead the league in hitting, you've got to make pretty consistent contact. 356 at bats for Johnson, 80 strikeouts.
But there's some note, and I don't know what the actual number is, but on the balls he puts in play, his batting average is some ridiculous, like 420 average, maybe even higher.
Didn't put that one in play. Strikeout of Johnson. That is number 3 in the game for Alvarez. And that'll bring up Dan Uggla. You take away those 80 strikeout at bats, Johnson would be 120 hits, 276 at bats.
That last pitch, you saw the way Coy Hill caught it. He's been throwing 94, 95. That pitch was, I think, 90, maybe 91. But that's because he was turning it over, trying to get it to sink, and Coy Hill had to go to his knees to make sure it didn't get under him. That's a hard sinker.
Smed's induced a ton of double play balls the last couple of seasons. After the strikeout, he's looking for a ground ball from Uggla that would preserve a 3-1 game.
He pitched a real good game against Pittsburgh his last time out, but got no decision because he got no run support. 7 innings, 6 hits. He only gave up 3 runs, no walks, struck out 6. The team did tie the game up and take him off the hook, but they lost an extra inning. He won 9 games for Toronto last year. 9-14 was his record. Good idea. Good plan here by Dan to make him get the ball up.
What does Dan get with a 3-1 count?
He's hoping for a good fastball above the knees.
It's over the outside corner.
A little bit of a delayed call there too. Sherwin-Williams painting the corners. Good call by Jeff Nelson. This wasn't a quick one. And again, they just don't pitch Dan in. That was a good fastball away. Perfect pitch on the corner or on the edge of the strike zone. And even if Dan had gone after that, I'm not sure but what he wouldn't have gotten a ground ball if he tried to pull that pitch. Big at bat in this ball game right here. Chance to get one more run back. That might be big later on.
The bases are loaded with 1 out. Dan's had a productive day at the plate. Sac fly and now a walk. And here's Andrelton Simmons.
And now that big at bat shifts to Andrelton.
The Braves have been tremendously effective with the bases loaded this year. As a club, they're hitting .350. Andrelton, .300 for his career. Alvarez back to the windup. And time is called. A visit from the Miami pitching coach, Chuck Hernandez.
One of the things he may have noticed or wanted to ask Alvarez about is he's thrown several sliders this inning, and his slider is his 3rd or 4th best pitch. And he wants to get that ground ball to get out of the inning. His bread and butter is that hard sinker. May have noticed a little something mechanically too, based on the way he acted right there.
Bases loaded. 1-0 count for Hamilton Simmons. Delta Airlines, proud sponsor of the Atlanta Braves. Let's see if Hamilton can make one fly away here and put Atlanta in front. Popped up shallow right. Solano goes out. Stanton comes in. Stanton gets there. And no advance by Freddie Freeman. So Hamilton pops out. And now the inning in the hands of Jordan Schaefer. Bases loaded, 2 down.
Good hard low fastball, some sinking action on it. Jordan was red hot before he got hurt. He had been 30 for his last 90.
Strike one. Freeman doubled, Gaddis singled. After a Chris Johnson strikeout, Uglo walked. And Schaefer with 2 down. Looks way outside at an even count.
He's had to use a lot of energy this inning, but if Henderson can get out of this with no runs scored, it'll be worth it.
This is his 23rd pitch. Schaefer missed it. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Pitches up that he's fouled, and Henderson got away with it. Good cut there by Jordan. The fastball that was elevated a little bit.
One ball, 2 strikes. Good stop. Well, here's the pitch that Alvarez wants action. He wanted to go 3-2 and let the runners get a head start. Yelich shortens up in left. Stanton's a little shallow in right. Marisnick straight away in center. Now the 2-2. Bouncing ball up the middle. Solano backhands, makes the play, and flips to Echeverria at the second base bag. Another ground ball out by Alvarez, and what a job to pitch out of. Bases loaded and 1 out, and to preserve a 3-1 lead. He'll start things off with the bat in the 5th. Miami's still in front. Their half of the fourth inning. They left the bases loaded and trail now 3-1. As we head to the fifth, let's enjoy today's Academy Sports and Outdoor Leaderboard. The Braves have been dominant at home and have a great shot, Joe, at a franchise record here at Turner Field.
Isn't it amazing that the best home record has been the same 4 different times? So what would they have to go, 17-9 the rest of the way to equal that? That could be done the way they've played at home all year.
The way the schedule shapes up, home games left with Phillies, Washington, Cleveland, Mets, Miami, the Padres, and Milwaukee. All of those clubs, with the exception of Cleveland, sub 500 teams.
Speaking of the Padres, though, they've gone into Cincinnati, and the Reds have got to be kicking themselves with the way the Cardinals have struggled lately. St. Louis has lost 4 in a row, 6 out of 10. Pittsburgh's lost 2 in a row, and they've won 6 out of 10. But the Reds just keep kind of hanging around, and the Padres could actually win the series in Cincinnati today after beating them last night.
So the Cardinals, who have lost 13 of their last 17 games, are beating the Cubs today and have the Pirates next. And as the wild card race is concerned, while the Cardinals, Reds, and Pirates are playing each other head to head in the Central for the next week and a half or so, you've got Arizona 4.5 back, and Joe, the Nationals are 8 games back in the wild card. So that is anything but decided. I mean, folks in St. Louis are very worried that the Cardinals not only might not catch Pittsburgh, but might not hold off Cincinnati or Arizona and make the playoffs. Alvarez chased and missed, and Minor strikes him out. That's 6 in the game. Alvarez, though, 1 for 2 with 2 RBIs. Hey, Braves fans, get the VIP treatment on our custom luxury coach, the Fox Sports South Fan Express. Book your seats today and travel in style to and from Turner Field. Check out foxsportsouth.com to find out how.
That's a nice bus. I saw that, I think, Friday night.
That's hit high in the air to the left off the bat of Christian Yelich. And Upton recovers in front of the warning track for out number 2.
Wind shifted a little bit, blowing out that way now.
Really is a nice day at the ballpark. We had a near hour-long rain delay last night. Bright sunny skies, warm weather, and a breeze. Before they wrap up with the fish. He's played the Braves tough in this ballpark this year. Winning again today. Here's Echeverria. Fly ball shallow left. Upton broke back. Now comes in a step or 2. And he's there to retire the side. 3 up, 3 down for Mike Minor in the 5th. He'll bat first. Down 2 runs. 3-1 is our score. We head to the bottom of the 5th inning. On deck for the Braves next. It's Charlie Manuel and the Philadelphia Phillies, who've had a disappointing season. And they're really struggling on the road. The Phillies are 23-37 away from Citizens Bank Park. And they'll be here tomorrow night to start a 3-game series.
With Cole Hamels on the mound for the first game of that series. Since the All-Star break, though, they're 4-16, a high ERA. Starters ERA even higher than their overall team mark. Ethan Martin on Tuesday, John Lannon on Wednesday. Teran, Medlin, and Beachy will be going to the mound for the Braves.
Value pricing's available for the entire series, including $8 upper level tickets and $25 club level tickets. Find out more at Braves.com.
Braves lead the season series 6-3 and have not seen them at Turner Field since the opening series of the season.
Don't think anybody saw the Eastern race shaping up the way it has shaped up on August the 11th. When we saw the Phillies on opening day. Mike Minor into center. Marisnick can't make the play. It's in and out of his glove, and Minor has a blue pit. Good start for the Braves in the 5th inning. Top of the order coming up with Jason Hayward.
Too bad the Braves couldn't have gotten one of those last inning. But it was up. Well, what a difference it makes. We talk about it all the time about pitchers need to get the ball down or whatever, and the ball's up like that no matter what you throw or how good you are, hitters have a better chance.
Third time through the order now. Jason Hayward's 1 for 2. How good Alvarez has been over the last 5 starts. He's also been very durable. He's gone at least 6 2/3 innings in 4 of his last 5 outings. Good pitch count for him on a hot day. More importantly, he's got a 3-1 lead. Right back where it came from. 2 on, nobody out.
He heard the sizzle on that as it went by. Talked before the game on one of his keys to pitching success was no touch 'em all. That's because last year Henderson Alvarez had a little trouble with the long ball. 29 of them while pitching for Toronto, but none this year. 49 plus innings.
Well, this man could change that very quickly. Justin Upton is 0 for 2. 6 home runs since August 1st. One here would put the Braves in front. He lays down a bunt. That surprised everybody in the ballpark. But Coy Hill with a terrific play got the force out at third.
It was a good idea. It wasn't a bad bunt. But with the pitcher running at second base as the lead runner, it's got to be even a little bit better than this, because the catcher can come out and get it and throw to the lead base, to the lead runner, as Coy Hill did. Nice play by the catcher.
Second and first for the Braves for Freddie Freeman, who hit one off the wall his last time up. Is Upton all right? Justin called for time. He's looking a little gimpy as he jogs in foul ground here.
He's still not right. calf muscle got him before. I don't know if it's knee or quad.
Well, if Upton can't continue, Braves have Joey Trdoslavich available.
BJ, who didn't start today.
And Upton will not be able to continue. Saw briefly Joey Trdoslavich sprinting down the stairs. Let's see if it'll be he or brother BJ Upton. There's Justin grabbing a couple of drinks of water to try to stay in the game. Jeff Nelson, the home plate umpire, over near the rail, and it's one Upton for another. BJ will come on and pinch run. So we'll let you know about Justin's injury situation as soon as we find out. Upton at first, Hayward at second, Freeman in the batter's box. And Freddie's had a good run going against Miami. That's our Georgia lottery hitting the jackpot.
Last 25 games, 333 average. Got a 10-game hitting streak working right now.
Freeman's good work on the first pitch, Alvarez pitched him very carefully and missed. That one caught the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Williams says that one was off the mark a little bit, just like the one to Schaefer last inning.
Boy, Hill's done a nice job on balls in the dirt in this game, hasn't he?
He's always known as a good receiver. After his accident, just a matter of whether or not he was going to be able to grip the bat well enough and be able to swing well enough to be a threat at the plate.
Hitters count for Freeman. Gaddis on deck. He's 2-2.
Patient Freddie typically is in RBI situations. He gets a good pitch to hit. This guy with that sinker can lure you into thinking you're getting a good fastball to hit and have it sink right off to the end of your bat.
Fly ball, well hit left center field. Yelich going back. It's gone. What?
think that ball was going to go?
Nope.
I was even watching Yelich, and I thought he was going to be able to cut across and cut it off, and maybe even catch it on the fly. He said the wind was blowing a little more out that way last inning, but that ball really went. I had no idea that was going to go out of here. Didn't even sound all that good. Man, is he strong.
He almost hit one out last time up. And the first home run surrendered by Henderson Alvarez costs him the lead. It's now 4-3, Braves in front, as Atlanta with 3 hits in the inning.
Upon further review, that sounded a lot better than I thought. And he did get it out front. But he was watching too. He wasn't quite sure.
That's our phantom microphone technology that
yeah,
really enhances the sound of the bat. And Freeman's 14th homer, now 79 runs batted in. Turns the game around for the Braves. 4-3 is the score for Gaddis, who's got a perfect day working. Up fly foul back toward Tommy Hutton. And Rich Walls, the fine broadcasting tandem for the Marlins. And out of reach. 0-2. So Kevin Brown's team record for the Marlins is still safe at 67 1/3 innings without a homer. This one headed toward us. And thankfully out of reach. What a difference maker it is to have this kind of power up and down your lineup, facing a pitcher like Alvarez, who appears to be cruising along, gives up a couple of hits, and then bang, makes one mistake in his good day on the way to being ruined.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was of the Braves guys in the lineup that said that there's just not any soft spots. Might have been Chris Johnson said there's just no place to go where a guy might not take you deep.
Put it in perspective, the top 5 hitters in the Braves lineup today have combined to hit more homers than the entire Marlins team. Braves now 142 homers. Miami is hit 64. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Gaddis pops one up, foul ground. Hill takes a look, backspin. Fortunately for Evan, that's in the SunTrust seats.
Here's Freeman's home run and the track. And his grandfather celebrating as he should.
Ball up the middle. Echeverria glides. Look at that play. I'm sold.
Yeah, he's a good player. Excellent shortstop and really athletic. He did this last night, remember, on a play near the bag where he fielded the ball and threw it pretty much from the same spot he fielded it. Great phantom cam work here. Seeing the ball right into his glove. Both hands, and then really, just smooth as silk, getting rid of the ball.
Echeverria is out of Cuba. Signed by Toronto in 2010 to a major league contract, and then was part of the gigantic deal on November 19th of last year. Alvarez Minor league pitcher Anthony DeScalfani, Yunel Escobar, Jeff Mathis, Marisnik, and Justin Nicolino came south. Bonifacio, Buck, Burley, Johnson, Reyes, and Cash went to the bottom. Line drive just fouled by Chris Johnson. And you'll recall, Joe, that deal was held up for a few days by the commissioner's office, not only because of the cash involved, but Major League Baseball wanted to make sure that the Marlins weren't just dumping salary, but also getting good players in return. And it's pretty apparent that they did.
Well, they were. They were dumping salary.
Right. But I'm saying
but
only.
Yeah, but they also did get some good players in return. And that's a credit to their scouting department and evaluating the players from another organization in a good way.
Fans staying cool on a hot, beautiful day in Atlanta. The Braves have taken the lead first time. And that one was cut on and missed by Johnson. The ball ricochets off the backstop, and Hill's able to retrieve it, and that retires the side. Henderson Alvarez has given up one home run this entire season. It came off the bat of a red-hot Freddie Freeman. His 3-run homer in the fifth has given Mike Minor a lead on Family Day at Turner Field. Braves are trying to take 2 out of 3 from the Marlins.
Well, we got to do better today. We're 1-1 on the
yeah,
homestand.
we got to win the series, no doubt. AT Universe Trivia question: since 2010, who's the only pitcher with more saves than Craig Kimbrell?
Okay, well, we could even up tomorrow. We could go be 2-2 by tomorrow.
That's right. Play 500 ball. Trivia question: Stanton looks at the ball high. We got to get this one. Changes for you in the Atlanta outfield. B.J. Upton's back out there in center. Jordan Schaefer moves from center to left as Minor misses low.
And Mike pitching with the lead.
All right, let's go down the list. Let's start in the East. Clippard, Storin. Not as many as Kimbrel, right?
Right.
Bobby Parnell, no. Philadelphia.
Papelbon, I guess, might from his days in Boston.
Outside to Stanton, 3 balls and a strike. Chad Qualls has had some closing experience. He's with the Marlins. Don't think he has nearly as many as Craig. Braves work carefully around Stanton, who walks. And that puts Minor in the stretch for the first time since the 4th inning. And Placido Polanco, the batter. First walk for Mike today. Grilly Melanson for the Pirates. Nope. Chad, or Jason Mott, I should say, for the Cardinals.
Wouldn't think so.
John Exford. Milwaukee. It's a good call. Kevin Gregg, who's now closing for the Cubs. He's got 25 saves this year.
Does he?
Yeah. He's a former Marlin. Aroldis Chapman for Cincinnati. Jonathan Broxton, also in Cincinnati.
No, I like Axford
Okay.
more than any of those other guys.
Write that one down for our final list.
Pitch.
You mentioned Polanco's a tough guy to strike out, but the Braves got him twice last night. A nice place to get a strikeout.
Does not have any gloves on either, does he? One of the few guys left, he and Evan Gattis. Does he have gloves on?
They blend in with that tangerine colored shirt.
Yep.
He's had a good career, good player. Excellent glove man. Only 2 errors this year for Miami. And he puts the ball in play very, very effectively. Miami has a threat first and third with nobody out. Polanco 1 for 3. Stanton with that big frame runs the bases well. He makes it to third easily. And here's Ed Lucas for Miami. A great chance to tie the game at the very least in the 6th.
Well, that's what Polanco's done so well his whole life, his whole career, is go the other way, try to hit one through that hole with first base occupied, and stayed on that breaking ball first and third, and nobody out for a guy that's 2 for 2 today.
Ed Lucas must be living a dream. 10 years in the minor leagues. Great story on him online. Ed's wife had a great job opportunity in Europe and was really at a professional baseball crossroads. He asked his wife, "What should I do?" She said, "Let's give it another year." Well, he stuck with it. For 930 something minor league games, 3,700 something minor league at bats, finally got the call to the major leagues with the Marlins. This season, around 240 with a couple of homers and 14 RBIs, and no matter what happens in his big league career, he can say that all of that hard work was worth it.
That wasn't the best of changeups from Minor. He almost made it 3 for 3 because left that pitch up. This guy's a line drive hitter.
To talk with Gattis.
And you're right, Chip. His persistence is to be admired. It's not easy to continue to work and work in the minor leagues. You get into your late 20s, early 30s. Just figure it's not going to happen.
He said the moment where being a big leaguer hit him was early on when his wife called him while staying on the road with Miami. She asked, "How's it going?" And Lucas said, "You know, as a minor league player, we are chronic complainers. We complain about the hotels, per diem, the buffet table, the bus rides." He said, when she asked me, "How's it going?" he said, "It's perfect." So good for him. It's a neat story. Full count pitch. Polanco at first isn't running. And Lucas fouls it back. couple of players out of Dartmouth now. Lucas, one of them. You might remember Brad Osmus, terrific catcher.
Remlinger.
Mike Remlinger, yeah, you're right.
Strikeout would be nice here, but this guy again shortens up, tries to protect the plate.
Fly ball towards center. BJ broke back, now glides to his left. He makes the catch. His throw toward the plate will not be cut off. Stanton scores on a sacrifice fly, and Ed Lucas having quite a day. 2 for 2 with an RBI. His sacrifice fly ties the game 4 apiece.
That ball went a little deeper than it looked off the bat. And BJ made a good throw in that it was a cuttable throw. He got off the best throw he could from very deep right center. But he kept that runner at first from being able to advance because that runner wasn't sure if Freddie was going to cut the ball off or not.
So the double play still in order. As Donovan Solano bats, and he's 0 for 2 in the game. Runner goes, and the pitch line to second. Hit and run will turn into a double play. No chance for Polanco to return to first. Solano lines out. And Minor and the Braves are out of the 6th inning. But Miami ties the game. 4-4 your score. Atlanta, Georgia. They are the Spirit of 45 Day hometown heroes. They enlisted in 1943. And they both served proudly together during World War II. We understand at the time that military regulations did not allow brothers to serve together, but their mother wrote to then President Franklin Roosevelt and asked that they be stationed together, and they were.
They were part of the troops that helped free the prisoners at the Dachau concentration camp, too. Tom Hart's going to try to visit with these gentlemen. What a thrill to have them here today.
And we've got word on Justin Upton's departure.
We are told he left with a left hamstring cramp. That's why you saw him chugging the water on the top step of the dugout on a hot day today. And now Mike Redmond asks for Jeff Nelson's attention, and they'll meet at the Miami on deck circle.
I have no idea what this is about. Calling over the crew chief, Jim Joyce. And now we're told the bullpen phone is on the fritz.
So if their bullpen phone doesn't work, I would assume the Braves won't be allowed to use theirs.
I guess. But why should the Braves not be able to use theirs if rumor has it that the bullpen phone was slammed down after the home run? And no, David Ortiz is not in their bullpen.
Well, if ever, Joe, there was a time for a true AT call to the bullpen, this would be it. One ball, no strikes for Dan Uggla, who starts the sixth. He's hit a sac fly and he's walked. It's no secret Joe Dan's in an extended slump at the plate. I know you talked to him about that before Game 2 last night.
RBIs, though, have a way of making you feel better about yourself. He got one on a sac fly his last time up, or his first time up. Saw a lot of pitches when he walked back in the fourth inning.
Two and two. Ooh, that was close.
Another full count.
Pitch number 90 for Alvarez coming. And Dan popped it up, center of the diamond. Solano. And Donovan makes the play for out number one. Let's check in with Tom Hart with two special guests.
Chip, thanks so much. Honored to be joined by Hilbert and Howard Margot, guys who served in World War II. You guys liberated Dachau concentration camp. Let's start with the fact that you were allowed a presidential exemption to serve together and in the same unit. What did that mean to you two?
Well, it was really great because, number one, Howard's outfit was getting ready to ship over to Europe in combat. My outfit was still had some months in training to go. And plus, if you know that you got, you know, in the Army, you got somebody with you that you can trust at all times, it makes a big difference.
Howard, I know you guys are twins, but he is technically the big brother. Did that make it a little bit easier to have him with you?
Well, we both knew that we had at least one guy in the outfit we could depend on come what may. So that was really the important part. Not that he was older or I was younger. I'm only 10 minutes younger.
Well, big brother is a big brother, and I just can't seem to process what it must have been like when your unit discovered Dachau, when you guys in your Jeep pulled over for the first time and tried to contemplate what that was with 30,000 prisoners of war. As you reflect on that and that experience, what does it mean to you?
Well, you know, it was something that, frankly, when we entered camp of Dachau, we didn't know what it was. We had no knowledge of it, knew nothing about such camps. And we just saw what we saw there, but it didn't register particularly because up to that point we had seen a lot of death and destruction. So seeing more individuals that looked near death, some of them looked pretty good, some looked near death. We didn't really know what to make of it.
When we moved forward to a new gun position early that morning on April 29, 1945, there was a very strong odor in the air. And some of the guys said it must be a chemical factory around here. I said, no, I don't think that's a chemical factory. I said, my mother used to go to the local meat market, pick up a freshly killed chicken, bring the chicken home, turn on the gas flame in the stove in the kitchen, and wave the chicken over the gas flame to burn off the pin feathers. Invariably in doing so, it burned some of the skin of the chicken and gave off an odor. I said, that's the odor that I smell. Well, we went into camp and saw the ovens. We knew what was causing that odor. And, the Germans that lived right around the Dachau concentration camp, they had to know what was going on. They smelled that same odor.
That's an unbelievable story as Schaefer lines out. It's a pleasure to have you guys at the ballpark. I know you live in Atlanta, big Braves fans. Thanks for allowing us to spend some time, and great to be part of this honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Braves and Marlins side of 4. Be back to Turner Field in just one moment. I'm going to spend some time with these guys who deserve a little bit more attention.
Part by the Georgia Lottery, by Sherwin-Williams, and by Toyota. Here we go to the 7th inning. Another tight ball game with the Miami Marlins. Henderson Alvarez has given up his first homer of the season. That came to Freddie Freeman. Mike Minor allowed the game-tying run, this time up for Miami. He's got the bottom part of the order up in the 7th inning. Marisnick, Hill, and then the pitcher's spot. Mike is due to hit first when the Braves hit in the 7th inning today. One ball, 2 strikes. You know how complimentary, Joe, you've been about the swing of Christian Yelich. What are your thoughts on Jake Marisnick these first 3 games?
He's he looks like a good player. Made a good throw earlier today from center field. Swing wise, he may be a little bit behind Yelich in terms of just fundamental good swing and experience, but they obviously like him and give him a little more playing time. He's probably going to have more power than Yelich. It might be a middle of the order guy, maybe a 5th or 6th hole hitter for them for a while. I like Yelich at the top of the order, though.
And what invaluable experience for both of those players in really low stress situations for Miami, a club that's not going anywhere this year. They've only got 44 wins.
I used to think that a lot when I was in the minor leagues and putting up some good numbers, and with the Dodgers, and there was really no place to go at that particular time, and I'd see other guys that I was playing against getting called up by really bad clubs, and I think how fortunate they were and how they better take advantage of that opportunity, because they had it better than players in good organizations on good ball clubs that didn't really have the need for call-ups. So for, like you said, for Yelich and Marisnik and anybody else they might bring up, it's a golden opportunity to have some extended playing time to show that you can play at this level.
Justin Ruggiano is the batter. He's 0 for his last 41 and went 0 for 3 last night. So Alvarez knocked from the game, or taken from the game, I should say more accurately, after 6 innings, during which he allowed 4 runs, 7 hits, and struck out 4 men.
This guy's got an 0 for what working?
41. I'm imagining if you're 0 for 41, you'll do anything you can. Luke Scott, I believe, was the last man to go 0 for 41 in the big leagues. And Jennings, looking young left-handed reliever, loosening. 1 ball, 1 strike. That was a great shot of Mike Minor. Was that dust swirling around him, or was that heat shimmering off the field? Just been the camera angle we had. Ground ball to second. Angla's got it. Luciano's miseries continue. He's 0 for his last 42. Minor has a perfect 1-2-3 7th inning. Right at 100 pitches is Mike as we stretch in a tie game of 4. By Georgia Power and by Ram Trucks.
Marlins and Braves tied at 4 as we enter into the bottom of the 7th inning. Family Day at Turner Field today, and we had an opportunity to catch up with all sorts of kids that were just excited to be at the ballpark. Whether your last name is Van Zant, Medlin, Varvaro, or Ugla, they all had the same message.
Do you guys like coming to Turner Field?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What do you guys like to do the best when you come to a Braves game? What's your favorite part?
I don't know yet. Watching the Braves win.
Yeah.
The Braves win.
What about cotton candy? Anybody like cotton candy?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Has Uncle Dan taught you how to do bicep curls yet? Get you in the right room? That'd be awesome. That's right. Let's show you. Let's see your muscle. See the muscle. Gotta make a muscle. Knock it up. Rah. Atta boy. Are you gonna get out there and take some swings today? I think you're gonna be a pitcher. What do you think? Yeah? Is this the best kid's toy ever? You wanna hold it? See if you can hit it as hard as you can. Perfect.
As hard-hitting journalism right there. So everybody who has kids had them out here. Lots of family members. Gerald Laird out here with his son, Boston. Alan Bunce was throwing BP to his kids. And Butsy was in a position where he could put his kids on loan. You see David Carpenter is walking around the field a little bit lost because he didn't have any. He wanted to find Butsy's kids so he could have some to play catch with, so he borrowed his for a little bit.
Always a great day. Family Day is always a wonderful day, and the kids have such a great time. We've got a picture on the wall at home from Meg and Gabe coming to a family day here over at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Gabe won't let us live it down, said we dressed him like a moron, which we didn't mean to, but at least in his opinion, we didn't exactly make him look sharp, and he's never forgiven us.
And Family Day is always a time, too, for the coaching staff, we understand, to really scout out future talent, right? I mean, Greg Walker was paying close attention.
Hey, Greg Walker was talking about Tyson Johnson, Reed's son, and the word he used with respect to his hitting ability at a very young age is it's like a freak show. And he said you better have your protective equipment on when you're pitching to him because you can't get the ball by him. And I watched him down on the field. He was awesome.
So Dan Jennings will go to work. Joey Turdoslavich will bat for Mike Minor in this tie game. And like Alvarez, Dan Jennings has been very, very effective for Miami. Jennings has yet to allow a homer this year. And that homerless stretch covers 26 1/3 innings.
Maybe Turdo can take care of that right here.
He's hitting .279, 3 RBIs, and a 2-0 count for him.
Most of his at-bats have come left-handed. 9 at-bats right-handed, but he's 4 for 9.
Three balls and a strike. Luis Avilan appears to be the next Braves pitcher.
He got 2 quick outs last night when he came in.
There's a start, a leadoff walk, the 11th issued by Jennings. And the go-ahead run aboard to start the inning. All year long, Braves baseball on Fox Sports South is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. The Braves trying to win this series from Miami. Tied at 4, and Jason Hayward's up. He's 2 for 3. As we mentioned last night, another facet of Jason's game that's very noticeable is his work lately against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, much improved. Jennings mostly a fastball slider guy, especially the lefties. A lot of sliders, low 90s fastball.
Jason showed bunt and took one outside. 1 ball, no strikes. Again, he tried to bunt and missed it. 1-1.
Fastball up, right through it.
And then late on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. .100 pitches for Mike Minor today. 7 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs with 6 strikeouts and a walk.
He didn't pitch poorly at all. He was victimized by a pop fly in the second inning that was out in no man's land behind first, that kind of fell between Uggla and Jason Hayward, but really nobody that close to it. Tough sun field at that particular time too. And right after that, the pitcher followed with a double.
Hot shot to right field. Hayward will advance Turdoslavich. Stanton's throw is not cut off, and Hayward takes second standing.
What a great slide by Turdo. Challenging Stanton's arm. Good aggressive base running, and it paid off. Close play at third base, but he just got in there by going head first and sliding around the tag by Polanco. Lacido has to come out and get this throw, and in doing so, that gave Turdoslavich a chance to get around him and barely hang on to the corner of the bag. Beautiful slide. Like this. Phantom cam. See how you had to come out and get that throw. I guess the throw was going to be up the left field line a little bit if he didn't come get it. That gave him an opening to the back door of the base. Jim Joyce right there to see it too. And before we forget, tried to sneak another 94-mile-an-hour fastball past Hayward and lost.
That ends the day for Dan Jennings. The Braves have a great chance in the inning. Second and third, nobody out. Leadoff walk and then a base hit by Jason Hayward. As the Braves in great position to reclaim the lead.
Take a look at Jason's swing on that 94-mile-an-hour fastball from Phantom Cam. There, our boy Gumby down there is doing a great job operating this new machinery. Hands lead. Ball flattened. Quick swing. Point of contact. Beautiful thing there. Jason got the head of the bat out there on that 94 fastball. Outstanding.
And including the hit here in the 7th inning since June 4th, Jason Hayward has 18 hits in 51 at-bats against left-handed pitching.
Wow, that's tremendous.
A.J. Ramos now is on to pitch for Miami, and B.J. Upton will have his first at-bat of the game. He came in for his brother as a pinch runner. Justin left with a left hamstring cramp. And that's a little low. 1 ball, no strikes.
Remember the other day when Hayward had to come out of the game in Washington when he got that crick in his neck and that pain in his shoulder. Gaddis came up later in the game in that spot in the order and got a 2-run single. So BJ can make his presence felt right here with his first at bat. Middle infielders are back. First and third are in, even though Lucas is well off the line at first.
One ball, 1 strike.
Braves had him loaded in the 4th inning. Didn't score. Can't afford to do that here. Get at least one of these in, hopefully both of them.
Line drive toward left. Yelich comes on and makes a shoestring catch. Tagging and scoring is Terdoslavich.
More good base running. Behind in the count, BJ went down and got a pitch and hit it like a rope to left field, and that's a play that a lot of times a runner at third base, your first instinct is you want to break to home. But Terdoslavich did the right thing. He went back to the bag immediately. And then because of the shoestring diving catch, he's able to score easily. But if he doesn't break back right away and his first move is to the plate, he may not score on that.
The Marlins are going to appeal and see if Terdoslavich left too early. At least I think they are.
Nope, just going to walk him.
Yeah, Polanco was standing at the third base bag expecting an appeal. That's by the boards now. As Miami will take the bat out of the hands of the red-hot Freddie Freeman and go after Evan Gaddis, who's 2 for 3 and was robbed by Echeverria last time up. If you missed the homer, it was an historic one for Henderson Alvarez. It was the first he'd given up this year.
5th inning, he'd gone 49 plus innings without a homer, and it's the subject of our Yellowwood bringing the lumber. A ball that fooled me. I didn't think Freddie got all of it. Grandpa wasn't sure either. Grandpa Fred Freeman. Kind of surprised him too at the excitement. You saw his reaction as Freddie connected for his 14th homer, a 3-run shot.
One in, 2 on, 1 out in the 7th. Boy, leadoff walks late. Usually spell trouble. The Braves cashed in the base on balls by Jennings to Terdoslavich. And now Evans smacks one deep center. Marisnik going back at the wall. It's off the fence. Hayward around third. He's going to score. It's a double.
Marisnik very upset with himself that he didn't catch this. Not a bad breaking ball, except that it was up. Evans stayed back. little inside-out swing on this and almost hit it out of the ballpark. Watch Marisnik go back. And then he pulled up at the last second, and the ball seemed to hit off the bottom of the fence. Well, maybe the middle of the fence, but he was upset that he did go on and go after it.
The infield's in for Chris Johnson. And fouled back to the screen. As we look at that phantom cam swing of Evan Gattis, it appears, Joe, his hands are actually split slightly. Just a little tiny bit of space between the hands. And boy, did the ball jump for his third hit of the day and his second double.
His top hand grip is so strong in terms of it being turned under the bat.
Ever so slightly.
Just a little bit. Good pickup. I'll bet you he doesn't even realize that. Sure emphasizes some top hand when you have a little gap there.
Now Chris shoots one to right. Stanton was playing shallowly. He's back. It's over his head. 2 more runs are going to score. And the Braves are punishing the Marlins bullpen in the 7th. Back-to-back run-scoring doubles.
Sorry, Chip. There was some talk Friday night about Mike Stanton's game. Struck out a couple of times, took 1 call, 3rd strike down the middle, that he seemed disinterested. Well, this is a guy that hits the ball to right field, and he's playing in like a pitcher was hitting. And got turned around. Of course, he's got some sun to deal with, too, but playing Chris Johnson in that position, who's a opposite field hitter, somebody wasn't paying attention.
We pointed out in the first game of the series a real surprising number regarding Giancarlo Stanton. While that play wasn't an error, he's made 8 of them this year in right field. That's a lot. That's a lot of errors. And he couldn't catch Johnson's fly ball. And the Braves have scored 4 times in the inning. Twice off Jennings, twice off Ramos. And Mike Minor, who gets his share of run support, has seen the Braves score 8 times.
Key at bat of the inning, though, was BJ. Fell behind 1 and 2 and jumped all over a pitch. Looked like it was down in the zone and hit a rope to left field. And that got the Braves ahead. That put them ahead and allowed everybody else to loosen up.
Braves today are 4 for 9 with runners in scoring position. They have 8 runs on 10 hits. After being held to 3 hits by the Marlins last night. A bullet by Ugla down the left field line, foul.
That's too bad. That's the hardest ball Dan's hit in a few days. Something turned over and trying to come back to Dan, which is dangerous. Again, that's one of the reasons they don't pitch him in.
Popped up to right. Stanton battles the sun and recovers to make the play.
Right now he's looking for that roof down in Florida. That was a battle going on right there. Tough one.
2 outs now for Anderson. He's 0 for 3 today. And a strike call. Avilan was up in the Braves bullpen, but now with a 4-run lead, he's got some company.
Luis Ayala is up as well. Luis and Luis.
Two walks and 2 doubles in the inning for the Braves offense. Also with a 2-strike single to right. It's off Dan Jennings. The Braves have scored 4 times. And foul at third. I mentioned earlier the Marlins head to Kansas City. They open up a series with the Royals tomorrow night. We've got the Phillies here at 7:10. Julio Teheran against Cole Hamels. Washington's in town next weekend. Popped up in shallow center. Who wants it? Echeverria does, and he makes the play. And that retires the side. Jennings and Ramos meet the Atlanta offense. 4 runs score, and Atlanta leads by 4. It's 4:04 here in Atlanta, and here's game summary as we head to the 8th inning.
Didn't start off so good. 3-0 Marlins going to the bottom of the second. Braves got a single run in the second, 3 in the fifth, and now 4 in the seventh. Freddie Freeman's had a good day with a homer and a double. Evan Gattis, 2 doubles. Chris Johnson just had a 2-run double. And Justin Upton, hopefully no more than a hamstring cramp. He had to leave the game. And that was in the 5th inning. His brother came in to run for him, eventually scored a run, and then he came up and drove in a run there in the 4-run 7th.
So Luis Avilan is on from the AT&T call to the pen. Minor started, went 7. He's in line to win his 12th game if the Braves bullpen can get the final 6 outs with this 4-run lead. 17 games, the Atlanta starting staff is 11-0.
Yeah, with a 2.89 ERA, that'll get bumped up a little bit today in the ERA. But 11-0 with a 2.89 in 17 games is not too bad. Just don't walk the leadoff batter and give them a chance to start an inning.
Mentioned the cramp for Justin Upton. Remember, Luis Avilan had one of the worst looking injuries this season in Atlanta. Early in the year, he threw a pitch and came off the mound, and it looked like he tore up his left hamstring.
Yeah.
I mean, he had to cart him off, carry him to the cart. Turns out that it was a very serious cramp as well.
I think that was on the heels of both Venners and O'Flaherty going on the DL too, so everybody feared the worst.
Bouncing ball out to second. Ugla. Low throw, and Freeman can't make the play, and Yelich will make the turn and head to second base.
Might be a hit and an error. We just threw that straight in the ground. Freddie didn't know how that was going to come up off the dirt. Actually got a little bit of grass.
It's an error all the way. Back-to-back games with errors for Dan Ugla.
It's only the 10th error by the Braves since the All-Star break. They had 9 coming into this game since the break, and that was the second fewest in baseball.
Strike to Echeverria. He's 1 for 10 in the series. Swing and a miss. Echeverria down on 3 pitches. Avilan gets out number 1. Mentioned the Phillies are here tomorrow night. Here are your Chevron probable starters.
Julio Teheran has an outstanding ERA, and if you take out his first 2 or 3 starts, his ERA probably the best among any rookie pitcher, and he's still got it under 3 right now at 9-5. Cole Hamels got off to a rotten start. He's still only 4-13, but he's getting his ERA whittled down. It was in the 6s, I think, high 5s, low 6s early in the season. Still a formidable opponent, and has been pitching much better.
Braves beat Hamels on opening day. He scored 5 runs against him in 5 innings, and I don't think anybody in baseball thought that Cole Hamels, coming off a big year last year of 17-6, would be that far below 500 this year.
Or the Phillies too, for that matter.
Yeah.
12 under. Now the good curveball from Avilan there.
Nothing in 2-2. Giancarlo Stanton, who walked in the 6th and scored the game tying run at the time. Avilan asks for an appeal. It was rejected. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Stanton now 4 for 33 against Atlanta pitching this year with 12 strikeouts.
Those struggles, this man has ferocious power. I mean, he can hit balls out of any ballpark.
He's already hit 1 foul today up there in the club level above the bullpen.
.66", 240 pounds.
And he's bigger than he looks in a baseball uniform. I mean, look at him next to Evan Gattis. It's certainly not that he dwarfs Evan Gattis, but he is just huge through his chest and shoulders.
I know the Heat just signed Greg Oden. Maybe they should have inquired about Giancarlo Stanton. He's in town. Fastball that just missed. Full count.
I don't think he likes the ball in there. Stands well off the plate, hoping, trying to lure you into pitching him away. He's got long arms. That was a good try by Luis, obviously inside, but I'm not sure he really likes being pitched in on his hands. How far he is from the plate.
Breaking ball broke his bat. Nice catch.
See where the point of contact is on this broken bat. Right on the brand. Snap the handle.
The payoff again for Stanton. Polanco is next.
Doesn't want to walk him, obviously. He's trying to make a good pitch. That was a good pitch away. Stanton got a piece of it to stay alive. Looked like a strike.
Big hop for Simmons at short. And a perfect throw retires Stanton after a long battle. Runner at second. 2 outs in the inning. Fantasy football's met its match. This season, one lucky fan will get a chance to join the Fox Sports South Girls Fantasy Football League. Enter now at foxsports.com/fantasy draft for your chance to win a trip to LA for the live draft and to compete against the Fox Sports Girls this season. Two outs for Polanco. Strike one.
I heard about a fantasy football league challenge by Adam Wainwright, and some of his teammates have taken up the cause. It was like a $2,500 entry fee, and the winner gets something if you beat Adam in fantasy league football. But all the proceeds, all the 98% of the money goes to charity, and they've already got the charities designated, and I thought that was a great way to do it. I think they had it limited to 40 or 45 entrants.
No balls and a strike. It's a pretty well-heeled fantasy.
Yeah,
group.
I mean, it's obviously. I think probably a lot of his teammates will take part. Probably some other players from around baseball. That was the idea of it.
Braves and Marlins drew almost 120,000 fans for this series. 32,000 more here today. Braves are now over 1.8 million in attendance, averaging around 33,000 fans per game at Turner Field.
It's a great weekend crowd. A lot of the schools, I think all of the schools will be open by Monday in the metro counties, but hope the attendance continues to be good for the Phillies and Nationals.
Yeah, fans will be out to see Washington this weekend. No balls, 2 strikes for Polanco. And a little high.
Good velocity for Luis. He didn't pitch a full inning, but if you want to measure it, I mean, he was out there for 2 outs, so he worked an inning last night. Throwing 94 today. He's got a good curveball as Downs gets ready. Curve, and there's that man Polanco again.
Polanco won a Gold Glove in the American League as a second baseman. While with the Tigers, he didn't make an error as a second baseman. Think about that.
Yeah, played every day.
1 ball, 2 strikes. And a line drive caught by Chris Johnson. And Polanco robbed of a chance to bring the Marlins a run closer. Avilan pitches around the leadoff error, and the Braves are up for their turn in the 8th inning with a comfortable lead. It's 8-4 in Game 3.
Try to add to their lead, but first let's take a look at our SunTrust shining moment. This has to do really with a lot of good moments for the Braves since the All-Star break. Their National League ranks their record second best at 17-5. The Dodgers have been on fire too. The ERA third, their relief ERA second to nobody. Offensively, averaging 5 runs a game and 22 homers, that's best. Runners in scoring position, second best. And that runs per game really took a dent last night because they got shut out. They'd been averaging over 6 runs a game. So great work since the All-Star break. And as I mentioned, defense real good too. They've only made 10 errors now since then.
And here's our first look at Stephen Ames, 25-year-old right-hander, whom the Marlins acquired from the Dodgers July 6th. That's when they sent Ricky Nolasco to Los Angeles. This guy's pitching well at AAA Albuquerque too, Joe. 3.67 ERA in 30 games.
Looks like he had plenty of coffee. Fastball low 90s. What'd you say his ERA was at Albuquerque?
3.67.
Anything in the threes, not just in Albuquerque, but in the Coast League, that's excellent.
He made his big league debut July 30th against the Mets. And Thursday took his first career loss in the big leagues. Jordan Schaefer back in the lineup after his injury rehab assignment at AAA today. 0 for 3, now facing a full count. And he slaps it into left field for a leadoff single. So Schaefer's aboard to start the inning. 8-4 Atlanta. We haven't forgotten about our trivia question today. As always, our trivia presented by our friends at AT Universe. Since 2010, who's the only pitcher to record more saves than Craig Kimbrell? We didn't get around to the American League closers, so it's both leagues since 2010.
Okay, I'm going to move off Axford. I'm going to go to Perez with Cleveland.
Chris Perez?
Uh-huh.
Paul Janisch will pinch it as I try to buy more time to think of my answer. I'm going to say Papelbon.
Okay, good answer.
Good teams with the Red Sox.
Good answer.
You like it?
Good answer.
No family feud up here.
Oh, way to go.
It's Jonathan Papelbon with 126 saves.
We got one more than Craig. At 124, Heath Bell. Never got to him. Valverde, Soriano, Rivera, then Chris Perez, 7th.
Oh, we hope we don't see Jonathan Papelbon starting tomorrow night. Schaefer's running. Giannis tries to protect him. And Jordan got in under the tag.
He sure did. Good call out there by Mike Estabrook on a play that looked like the throw beat him, but he didn't just automatically ring him up. That might have been a hit and run. Giannis was swinging. So if it was a hit and run, you don't get as good a jump as you normally would on a steal, and he did get the hand in there. Oh, phantom cam on steals, really? Look at this.
We promise he got to the bag.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got to get to the live action.
1 ball, 2 strikes for Paul Janisch. And he struck out, 1 away in the Atlanta 8th.
on the bag. It was actually there before the tag hit, obviously. Bang, bang play. Good call.
Good day again for Jason Hayward. 3 singles and 2 runs. Jason now with 18 runs scored. Sits moving to the leadoff spot. 14 games. Maybe this extended run for Jason is showing the Braves what he truly is. Maybe he is a big 6-foot 5-inch leadoff guy. Very wise move by Freddie Gonzalez to get him at the top of the order for the Braves offense. And his entire team took off with Hayward first, Justin second, and Freeman third. Hammered foul to the right side. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
This guy's got a lot of motion, a lot of quick, twitchy motion jerks on his delivery, which kind of gets you to jump as a hitter, makes you anxious, and then he throws some off-speed stuff, slow curve, changeup. But on that last one to Jason, who was not fooled, he really slowed down his arm action, which kind of tipped it off.
Base hit by Hayward. Here comes Schaefer around third. He's going to score. Have yourself a day, Jason. A 4-hit game. And Atlanta manufactures run number 9.
Right, you go down and get that one. Another off-speed pitch, and he stayed on it. 2 runs scored, 1 driven in, 4 for 5. And a good return for Jordan Schaefer, too. His last time up, Jordan hit that rocket to right field that Giancarlo Stanton ran down.
First 4-hit game of the year for Hayward. 4th time he's done that in his career. The last coming September 1st, 2010.
Wow.
That was Jason's rookie year. Nine runs on 12 hits for the Braves. They've only left 5 on base as well today. They're underway in Colorado. Pittsburgh nothing. The Rockies nothing. Atlanta a half game ahead of the Pirates for the best record in the league. Colorado looking to sweep the Pirates and win 3 games in a row for the first time since late May. BJ is down swinging, and that's out number 2. Freddie Freeman's knocked in 3 runs. He's doubled, he's homered, he's walked and scored twice. While we have a minute, I know you'd like to extend congratulations to a guy we admired a lot as a player in Seattle. Ken Griffey Jr. was ensconced in the Mariners Hall of Fame last night.
Best Mariner ever.
Two balls, no strikes. Now 3-0 to Freeman. Ball 4. Rough inning for Ames. Third Brave to reach in the inning. Hayward to second. Freeman's at first. And now Gaddis hits. Evans had a 3-hit day. Three-game hitting streak for Gaddis. He's 5 for 10 in that stretch. Home run cut. Strike one.
Better go to that off-speed stuff here right away. That 89 fastball to Evan is causing him to lick his chops. Too far inside.
Fly ball center. Marisnick's going to have room. And that retires the sign. The Braves cash in a leadoff hit and a stolen base by Jordan Schaefer. He scores the game's 9th run for Atlanta. Braves 9, Miami 4 as we go to the 9th.
Over the Marlins. Stay tuned for Braves Live presented by AT&T. After the game, we'll talk with Freddie Gonzalez, give his thoughts. Is this the start of a new win streak? Clubhouse interviews. We'll try to talk with Freddie Freeman on the field. His big 3-run home run happening in front of his grandpa and only other family members here today on Family Day. Speaking of Family Day, got a chance to spend some time with Anthony Vivaro Jr. before the game, and now his dad takes the mound for the night. He was really busy, guys. In fact, Ron Grownick mentioned this to me during the game. I don't know if Jerome Drenovich knows, but Jerome's now out of a job. He was born the day before Hurricane Sandy in Staten Island, New York. The entire island, for the most part, lost power. Anthony and his wife hustled over to his parents' house, the only house on the block in the neighborhood that had electricity. There was also no gas available, pretty much all of Staten Island. They were lucky to have a house to go to, spend some time with their newborn last October.
Wow. And folks are still trying to recover in many parts of the Northeast after that hurricane last year. Anthony Favaro, big part of this Braves bullpen. He's gobbled up some very important innings, and he's off to a good start. A good throw. He takes care of Lucas. Well, it was a bad throw, but Freeman saved another error at first base. Wow, 1 out.
Threw a BB over there. Telling you, when the pitcher's got it, you just got to be ready. That's all I can tell you. I know Tom Glavine will be here next weekend and we can debate. But when the pitcher's throwing it to you, you've got to assume an athletic position.
Isn't it funny they can throw the ball within an inch of a 17-inch plate from 60 feet 6 inches away, and then on a play like that, you never know where it's going to go? How's that happen?
I don't know. What's the closer's name for Tampa?
Fernando Rodney?
Yeah, with the crooked hat. He
had
a comebacker for a potential double play ball with the game on the line 2 nights ago and threw it into center field. I didn't see him shooting any arrows on that one afterwards, but see it happen a lot.
Well, he'll have a chance tonight. The Rays are part of the Game of the World on ESPN. Clayton Kershaw is going to pitch for the Dodgers, Tampa Bay, and Los Angeles from Dodger Stadium. Dodgers may never lose another game. They are continuing to roll. But the Braves rolling 2 outs away from winning for the 15th time in 16 games. Ball, 2 strikes for Donovan Solano.
Anthony went 9 days without pitching, and now he's in back-to-back games. Only a third of an inning last night.
Won't be long before we see the Marlins again. They're back here in Atlanta August 30th. And then we'll face them for the final 4 times this year in Miami September 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Fortunately, the Braves have built for themselves a big lead. Otherwise, that September schedule stretch could be very, very difficult. Braves have a stretch in September where they play 13 of 16 games on the road, with only a 3-game home pit stop against San Diego. Down and in, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Won't matter.
Right. Jan, what's the magic number for the Braves?
32 coming in.
So Braves could make it 31. And we'll see what happens between the Phillies and Nationals later on.
Braves with that good stretch of wins on the road, the last road trip, have gone over 500 on the road now. They're 32 and 30. Here's a good wave.
Simmons at short. Squares up and gets his man by a step. Solano hitless today. And Miami down to its final out. Hey, he's got the chop too.
Yes, he does.
And here's Marisnick, an RBI hit in the second. That was the big inning for Miami. A Sun-aided fly ball that turned into a hit, and then a double by Henderson Alvarez, the starter. Mike Minor was down 3-0.
Do I have this right? Marlins only got 13 hits this series total.
You're right. Not surprising in that they're last in the league in almost every offensive category. They're winning because their pitching's been so good. And that took a bite out of Jake Marisnick as he and the Marlins down to their last strike.
It's not what he was hoping for, his last at bat and before a plane ride to Kansas City.
high. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
97 from Anthony. Aired out that 0-2 pitch.
To short, Simmons charges, fields and fires, and the Braves take 2 out of 3 from Miami and earn their 38th comeback victory this season. 9-4 Braves. Jason Hayward with his first 4-hit game of the season. Freddie Freeman with a 3-run homer, and Evan Gattis with a 3-hit, 2-run game, as Atlanta with 12 hits takes care of business and is back in the win column. 9-4 your final. We'll talk more about it right after this.